What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing today? I am KG. You are watching a live stream. G4, S90D, S95D, and C4. LG versus Samsung. Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. Not sure how long we're gonna be doing this, but we're gonna start off with gaming, and I thought it'd be interesting to look at a fireplace, kind of like let the Yule log, effect go on for a little bit as we introduce everybody to these TVs. Because I do think looking at this scene is pretty telling. I'll kind of evaluate it and talk about it in a second. Let me know though how my audio is, if you guys can hear me. If you can't hear me, please tell me. I would love to know. We got high def news. Let's get this party started. That is huge. Okay, let's find a happy medium here. Okay, I don't want it to block the TVs. I want to be able to reuse this. All right, well, that's just gonna be how it is, I guess. Let's see what else we got here. We got Lisa in the house. What's up? What's up? How's the audio, guys? Is it good? Is it too loud? Let me know. Let me know. I definitely feel like I'm quiet, but oh, maybe that's why. Okay. So yes, we are looking at a fireplace. I don't know how fast these TVs are gonna dim, but we'll find out. One is sore thumb sticking out. Okay, that's small. I'm not gonna be able to put up that. Okay, one sore thumb sticking out. That's pretty interesting. I can guess which one it is. Yeah, unfortunately, that game mode is not amazing for the C4. Can you guess which one is the C4? I'm pretty sure it's pretty obvious by now, but I want you guys to go ahead and guess. Good to see you back, KG. Thank you. It's good to be back. If you guys caught the comparison earlier between the C4 and the G4, that was a fun one to do. I did kind of have to reposition the frame. So if that comparison looked a little weird to you, I did have to like move the frame a little bit and crop it out. And so that's why the comparison might have looked a little weird, but I tried to make it look as natural as possible. All I did was just move it one frame up, just align them pretty much. But yeah, of course, Classy knows which one they all are. So I know which one all of them are. Man, since he's a moderator, it's going to display that wrench really big. That's a really unfortunate thing. Blue Scientist, what up? What up? I think we are having some dimming kicking in. I'm not sure. It's pretty interesting. All right, let's go look around outside. And I might have to adjust the camera at times, so just bear with me if things just don't look right or something looks desaturated. I am trying a new kind of LUT for S-Log3 on my Sony camera to make sure that it's all converted properly. So it's just a regular Sony conversion LUT, but so far it looks pretty good, I would say. Nothing too strong here. The greens are interesting on all of the Samsung versus LG comparisons that I've done. Green is one of the different colors where they look kind of dramatically different at times, I would say. Is the image too dark? Is it good? I just want to make sure the camera is all good. Man, this is such a beautiful game. I really do like it. There's so much highlights. Let's make sure we have everything set up correctly. So HDR calibration, we do it until it clips. This one is pretty up there, huh? 2200 it clips. Is that right? So seems to clip at 1000 on the C2 or C4 rather. Oh, that might just be like the sharpness. It might just be clipping at 1500 and the sharpness is making it stick out. I have to look into that, why it looks like that. It's pretty interesting why it looks like that. But we'll keep it at 1500 and that would be fine, I think. All right. So we're going to go through gaming first. And this is one of those games that has like really dark areas and then really bright areas all of a sudden. So at times it might look like it's really dim. And that's not really the case. But as you can see, the S95D kind of seemed to go to sleep a little bit. I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, S95D seemed to like take a little bit of a nap. Let's go into the settings, make sure we have the settings all correct for the S95D. Maybe we have to turn on pixel shift if it's not already on. Maybe that will help it from not going to sleep. That's kind of concerning, I think, when I'm trying to do a comparison, I'm just walking around and S95D is like taking a nap. So let's figure out what's going on with this. It's not a good look for the S95D, but let's see what's going on. That's kind of weird. Let me see if I can get it to come back. How do we get it to come back? Let's just go home. And then back into the game. All right, S90D is officially back. Okay, that was really weird. Let's look into the settings options for the S90D. Make sure. All right, sorry, the S95D. I just gave it away also. I wanted you guys to guess which is which. And, well, the cat's out of the bag. The S95D is the top left. A very bright TV. But the dimming out of nowhere, kind of concerning. So we'll have to test that even further, I think, to see exactly what's going on with that. I heard a couple of things. Pixel shift is on. I want to keep that on. Let's turn off logo brightness reduction. I thought I had that off. My bad. Let's make sure that's off on every other TV. I guess the HDMI port changed. Probably that's what happened. So they're all in their static tone mapping right now. HGIG mode on the G4 and then basic on the Samsungs. And I'll check out dynamic tone mapping on in just a second. I just wanted to make sure that everything is going to be in place to make it fair. Okay, pixel shift off. Okay, logo brightness is off. Maybe that was the problem. So maybe logo brightness was the problem. Always turn off your logo brightness if you don't want your TV to dim really fast. It still might. I don't know. But it definitely will if you have it off. So, okay, so that's on the C4. Let's go ahead and turn that off. I think I've given you guys enough time to guess. So that's the reveal. C4 is the bottom left. G4 is the top right. Okay, so that's good there. Should we put screen move on all of them? I mean, it does kind of help the dimming from what I've noticed. I know like a lot of people don't like to turn it on, but I don't remember if it's on all of them, but now I gotta check. Let's just turn it off. I'm gonna go through chat in just a second. Don't worry, we're gonna do other content as well. I just want to start with gaming because why not, right? We always end with gaming, so let's start with it this time. Let's be fair to gaming a little bit. So we're just gonna turn off, I keep going into the wrong setting. Power, panel care, pixel shift. And we'll see if it dims again. I do think it was the logo brightness reduction. I swear that was off, but guess not. Okay. So they're all set up correctly now. Apologies for that mishap. I still got that on the screen. Let's see. Let me look through chat. Yep, I was totally the opposite. High def, you already knew. Wait, that might not be what you're talking about. All right. Now let's go look around the island again, since we don't have the TVs dimming on us. I like to have the sun come out on this game. I think that is a really cool scene to show on the TVs. So let's hopefully get the sun to come out on both of these TVs, on all of these TVs. As we just kind of look into the horizon. We'll look at the grass for a second while we look. Look at the clouds on the C4 as well. Yeah, they don't really have that punch. That's kind of the unfortunate thing. Let's see if there's any shift or anything like that. Let me reset this. I think it looks okay. Let me brighten it up a little bit. So you can kind of see it a little bit better. I don't want the highlights to clip though. So when you look at the sun, you know, you can definitely tell the C4 is kind of the loser in this conversation. But by itself, on its own, like it's not a bad TV. And you probably won't notice a lot of the color issues. You know, it's really nitpicking, but it's still there. And that's just one of the things that we always have to call out because, yeah, it's very interesting. I do notice that, you know, there's going to be more banding on stream than what you see. Like, I'm not going to be able to call out when I see banding, but I could tell you the C4 definitely has banding rings around the sun right now, as does the G4 somewhat. But again, it's going to be really hard to see on stream because it's probably going to look like all the TVs are banding. And when I mean banding, I mean color banding, like posterization. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying banding. Color banding. There's too many bandings. Let's go back to the fireplace again as we examine some things. So, yeah, that's probably the biggest thing with the G4. It's a big step up from that department. I was really hoping to get like a really nice sunny day. Here we go. It's a little bit better. Clouds want to be in the way, just kind of like real life in a way. Clouds always blocking the sun. Cyan on Samsung is missing. Let's see. Maybe. It might just be the camera, the way it looks. Yeah, remember the white balance is going to be kind of different, and also the way that the TVs look on screen, they're going to be different as well. So, like the Samsungs are going to look a little bit more magenta on camera. That's just how they're going to look, and they also do kind of have like a little bit of a magenta tint in the clouds and things like that. And then the LG is going to look a little bit more blue, and they're going to have a little bit more of a green tint at times. And so that's kind of just like the things you've noticed with these TVs. And I've kind of noticed that with all LG and Samsung TVs the last couple of years. It's just what they do. That said, it's not as bad as like the G3 last year with the green. That was quite significant. All right, let's go to a different game. Let's go to Elden Ring. A lot of people wanted to see Elden Ring, so let's check it out. Why is it going into game mode original? I don't like that. Oh no, not the Netflix button. My remote was upside down. We've all done it. We've all done it. And still think it's an Apple TV. That's what happens when you switch HDMI ports all the time. Okay, it's not on game mode original. It's actually just saying that at first. Okay. Let's continue. Let's check out a couple of different areas in Elden Ring. I'm gonna go to real content. Well, as real content as we can get, and also I'm gonna show a couple movie scenes pause as well. Hopefully today. That is something I definitely want to get around to doing. How's this look? See if I can increase the light a little bit without being too dark. I want it to match 100% as close as possible. It's pretty close. What do you guys think? I'm gonna have to make sure that I see comments a little bit better. Let me adjust my screen real quick while you stare at the character with the tree in the background. So I got a lot of questions about gaming, like on the S90D. There's definitely some adjustments you have to make. Like for example, contrast at maximum. Well, in general, with HDR, contrast on maximum is going to clip some highlights from time to time. So it's recommended you go to 45 or 48, but you are losing some HDR impact when you do that. Let's go ahead and just try it at 48. Even on 48, though, I like it better than the C4 for gaming. So if gaming is your main concern, I do prefer the S90D over that. I haven't decided on real content yet. I need to kind of look at that more, but they're closer than it was with the S90C and the C3 last year. I thought personally last year this C3 just kind of lost its battles no matter what. This year C4 seems to be doing a lot better of a job, just not in game mode. Does seem to be the weakest link in game mode. Here when you get down, you'll start to notice that the S90D will look a little bit brighter in the darker scenes. We'll take a look at a different area as well. I love that there's multiple different areas to look at. But if you take a look at some of the magic effects and stuff, particles, things like that, you will see that they're sort of dull almost on the C4. And that's kind of that whole thing where you're losing color brightness within LG OLED's game mode. G4 is the exception. The G4 is not like this no more. So that is kind of a good thing, you know, not kind of a good thing. It is a good thing. So let's find I don't think I remember this area. I feel like I need to play through this game again. That's kind of a cool little stopping point to look at chat. Let's see. Yeah, they all look very close. Even this scene, C4 doesn't look too bad. But this is not a very bright game. I believe that this game maxes out around 1,000 nits. I don't think it goes past it. So it's not like a bright game by any means. Let me look through chat here. You have Stellar Blade. I don't believe it's on this console. I think it's on the PS5. PS5 is not in this room right now. Can you please label the TVs? Sure. I will do that. It's a great idea. Let's do that. So hold on for a second. S90D, still in the same location. So if you guys have been paying attention, that didn't change. One thing that did change was the G4's location. That is now, oh my gosh, that is now on the top right. The C4 is on the bottom left. Let's go ahead and change that. C4. And then S95D, same location. So there's that. All right. Now let's look through chat. Cape on the C4 is duller. Yeah. Let's see if the S90D will dim here. Or the S95D. I think it was just because I had the logo brightness on. Can you compare outside of gaming? Yeah, we'll get to that. I wanted to start with gaming because we usually finish with gaming. So figure we'll start with gaming, we'll move into Spears and Munsil, and then we'll do some YouTube demos to close it out. I think that's a fair thing to do. When will you get the Hisense U8 in to test it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly. We'll have to find out. Right now, the TV priority list is hopefully Bravia 9. I do want to check out the other OLED TVs like the S95D just to see how Samsung does WOLED. I haven't seen it yet. And then there's let's see what else. I want to check out the 48-inch S90D compared to the 48-inch C4 or 42-inch C4 versus 42-inch S90D. That would be pretty cool. Demo movies. Yeah, that's not going to happen, manual. Just copyright is a thing. So unfortunately, we won't be able to do that, but we can pause certain scenes in movies, things like that. We'll definitely look at that. Horses in the snow will definitely be happening. For sure. All right, let's see. Let's check the progress on these TVs. Anything happening with the dimming? Not really. So that's good. I think the S95D dimming was just because they had the logo brightness reduction on. That's a very aggressive setting. So if you're like, oh man, my S95D or whatever Samsung TV you own is dimming really fast, it's probably likely related to that. How is the sharpness? It's not too bad. I might have to change the focus a little bit, but that was kind of weird. Right. Just heard like a buzzing noise coming from my computer. That's never a good thing, but I think we're good. All right, let's go to another part of the map. Some more red. I know like a lot of people like to look at the red. Do you see above black crushing? What's black crushing? What do you see black crushing? I don't see any black crushing too much, but we can go look at some darker areas and see. Unfortunately, like my camera's not going to be able to tell the whole story of what I'm seeing. Sometimes it's darker or brighter than what I'm seeing. And before we get out of this game, though, I will turn on dynamic tone mapping on because, like I said, this is a darker game, so you might want to like look at that part of it. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's go ahead and put on dynamic tone mapping on. Because this isn't like particularly bright or anything like that, but let's go ahead and make it bright. Now, this is not how I would play this game. I would play it the way I was just playing it, just because feels more natural that way. Like, I don't really like what the dynamic tone mapping for LG does for this game. So let's change this one now to advanced. Oh, that's HDR plus gaming. Never mind, I didn't do anything. Now that's what I was wanting. Let's double check this one is all good here. I really don't care about the sharpness part. I just care that the rest is fine. Let's change this. I really like the way that the colors are looking on the S90D in this mode. Let's see if the S95D will look the same. Probably. Actually, it looks worse. What the? It's like more saturated. I kind of like that look. It might be a different color space. We'll have to double check that. We will definitely check that. Make sure color booster is not on, things like that. So yeah, active is on. Contrast is at 50. Brightness is, for some reason, at 40? All right. I guess I didn't really have the active tone mapping setting. For some reason, I reduced the brightness on that one. That's weird. I don't remember doing that. But still, the S90D looks slightly different here. Trying to figure out why. Why is that? 1, 2, auto, color booster. And again, remember you gotta reduce the contrast here. Maybe the contrast is set too high. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I don't know. I like the way the Samsungs look right here the best. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the dynamic tone mapping, like I said, in gaming. It just kind of lifts the rest of the picture. Like for the G4, for example, like look at the surrounding areas of the tree. Like the sky, I don't want the sky to be super bright. Want the tree to like really pop, and it really does. So that's just interesting. But as you can see, how bright the did we not put the LG C4 in dynamic tone mapping? Yeah, we didn't. You're right. That's my bad. Let's go ahead and do that. Forgot about the rest. Rest of the crew. This one will be bright as well. In dynamic tone mapping, of course. This is what dynamic tone mapping does on LG. It just lifts the whole entire picture. So I should probably write that on the thing. Let me go ahead and put that to on here. I gotta remember to update my graphics in the stream. So kind of looking at this scene here, bet the S95D is the hottest. And you'd be surprised. The G4 gets ridiculously hot when dynamic tone mapping is on. Like my room is scorching whenever I have the G4 like in the blazing modes. So let's see. Let's look at chat here. How many people? Got 112 people watching right now. So people starting to trickle in a little bit more. And it's a little bit later start than I wanted to have, but I didn't really want to do it tomorrow, so thought we would just do it today. C4 looks green and foggy. Interesting. Yeah, it's not a true TV comparison without that neon green frog. Very true. Very true. I'd say they look more orange in person than red here. Let's see if I can get my LUT. Maybe the see, that's like full power LUT. That's not what it looks like. So it's more like this. It's more like this, I would say. Yeah. In fact, I think I might actually switch from S-Log back to Cine and see. So that's just without the LUT there. So if I turn off the LUT, it's in S-Log. They're gonna look washed out like that. So let me switch my camera back to what I usually have it in, so you can kind of see if I can get the colors to show up a little bit better. Because right now, they do look a little bit more red than what I'm seeing. But again, that could also be my Mac. One second. All right, let's just use this one. This is a little bit, it's pretty much the same, honestly. I can't tell much of a difference. Unfortunately, it's just not going to show what I'm seeing as much as I wanted to. It's just not. All right. Let's check out one more area in this game, and then we'll swap games. Let's go to an inside area where we were last time we tested. I think it's this one I wanted to go to. Yeah, I need to get a fan. It's about that time. But air conditioners are about to pop on too, so that'll help. That is a bright bonfire thing. Let's try another game with the dynamic tone mapping on, see what else would look good on this. Let's see, golf. Yeah, there's a reflection on this screen. Okay. So this is dynamic tone mapping on. For a bright game like golf, I can see the argument to playing games like this with dynamic tone mapping on. It definitely does look good. G4 kind of separates here. It's like, yeah, you want to definitely like push it into dynamic tone mapping on. Yeah. Then you get the G4 kind of winning this battle. It's not really close. So if you're somebody who likes to play with dynamic tone mapping on, maybe like bright sports games like this or Madden, maybe NBA, like the G4 is cooking for sure. The G4 is cooking right now, I gotta say. Um, that was a horrible swing. That was a horrible swing. Is this game mode all on all of them? Yes. This is game mode with dynamic tone mapping on all of them. So like G4 definitely like is good for these kind of games. C4 is not really a slouch either. Like in dynamic tone mapping on, it's not bad. So if you use game mode and dynamic tone mapping on, the LG definitely does it a little bit more brighter, I should say. And Samsung is closer to probably what it should look like, but there's really not a reason to use it. Like I usually don't use dynamic tone mapping on Samsungs at all. I haven't found a reason. Yeah, I'm just showing it off because people do want to see it. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap it back after we give it just a couple more seconds on this so you can see it. Yeah, G4 does look the best here. So let's go ahead and swap them to the HGIG mode on this one. It's funny, I think the G4 still looks really bright, even though the rest are in dynamic tone mapping on. So let's go ahead and swap them out. I'll update the graphic in just a second. I'll take questions as the stream goes on too. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. I wish there was just like a simple quick switch on the game bar menu where it's like, oh, you can just switch in and out that fast of dynamic tone mapping on and off. That's my wish. Just make it a little bit easier for me to do that. That would be nice. Okay. Now let's go ahead and put off. DTM off. Let's redo the restart the round so we can see that fly in again. I just realized I have the sound on one of these TVs. I don't know which one it is. There we go. So what do you guys think? When the dynamic tone mapping is off, does the G4 still stick out to you, or is this one more S95D? I think they're pretty close when the dynamic tone mapping is off. It's very close. And again, clouds are out. It's not really a sunny scene. You gotta remember when dynamic tone mapping is off, it kind of just gives you the scene as it's supposed to be. So if it's not a bright scene, it's not going to be bright. So let's load up something that might be a little bit brighter. More like, let's say Forza, I think, is pretty bright. I think this got the intro, does it? You can kind of see in the yellows that the lack of color brightness on the G4 right here too. Sorry, on the C4, not the G4. The G4 is good for color brightness this year. The C4 still suffers with it. As you can see in those yellows there. Let's go to where you like paint the cars real quick. See if I can dive into that a little bit more. I should have went to view car. Yeah. Like that's a huge difference. Like look how like dead the C4 looks with color. When it's like high brightness shining onto the car. There's like it's like no. S95D is definitely winning this. No doubt about it. That is like just such a rich or like yellow orange. I guess it's orange, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's orange. It looks yellow on the C4, but it is definitely on the oranger side of things. Kind of like looks. Let's see if we get. How do we get more sun to come in? That's pretty bright. You know, I think like there's times where I see the S95D is the more capable TV, and I think that you will see like it probably is the case, but more often than not, the G4 will look the brightest because of the way that the content is. Because unfortunately, you know, everything past 1,000 nits seems to be not as bright as it should be on the Samsung TVs. So I don't know why that is. I think it's just the way that they do their tone mapping. They aggressively roll it off. Yeah, I think this is a good representation right now of color brightness on these TVs. And I think the G4 is actually keeping up pretty well. Like really similar to the S90D, honestly. So I like that. Let's see if I can get the S90D to clip so I can show you that downside there. Cause like I did reduce the contrast to 48. So it does like affect the brightness a little bit, but again, we don't want to clip. Cause if you're clipping, your details are gone. Like if you're fine with your details being gone, then by all means, but you want to be able to see your details, right? Like I didn't think that made too much of a difference, but now it does look a little bit better than the G4 on this scene. But again, if details are clipped, what are we doing, you know? It's not great. On the golf game, the C4 was almost just as good as the G4. Yeah, I didn't think so. I saw the C4 just wasn't as good, to be honest. It looked the worst of the four. When dynamic tone mapping was on, I guess it's depending on how you look at it. If you're looking at brightness wise, with dynamic tone mapping on, um, obviously it was looking the second brightest on that. All right, so let's go into the actual race. Try green. Oh yeah, I should paint the cars. Ah, see, look, it put me in a rainy area. Like I wanted a bright event, and they gave me rain. Oh well. The camera's actually picking up the color really well today. I keep doing that. I want to just change my camera view. How do you change camera view again? Resume from here. I think it's like left bumper, right bumper. There you go. It is. Ah, it's slippery. So I think we're gonna kick it into Spears and Munsil here. Give these TVs a real test. Unless there's, oh yeah, you guys want to see SDR gaming, right? Really quick. Okay, let's do that. We'll do that. Off-road again. I thought this game couldn't get harder, but you add in rain to the mix? Oh man. We're slipping and sliding. Never stop driving, huh? I think I'm about to. All right, yeah. So, let's go to good old Ninja Turtles real quickly as I flashbang you the green. Looking forward to the Spears and Munsil. Yeah, it's a fun one to do. So there is a game mode for SDR. C4 is not too bad, but it's definitely not as bright as the rest. Like I said, the G4, even though peak brightness is turned off, you can get away with it. It's good enough. Ah, too many turtles, or too many foot soldiers. All right, I like turtles, but I like frogs better. So let's load that up, and then we gotta make sure we're out of game mode here. So 1 second. If you guys have questions, leave them as I switch to content. I'll dive into that. C4 is looking the dullest so far, definitely. I agree with that statement. Rod. Let's turn these into the other mode. I'm back. What's up, Classy? How you doing? About to go into Spears and Munsil. You know what's interesting? I fired up Call of Duty Black Ops 1 today, and I noticed that it has auto HDR. That's crazy to me. They like updated it to have auto HDR. There's a lot of other games that would have been cool to have that, but yeah, it's interesting. Let's get into our Blu-ray player here. See where we at. Got 117 people watching right now. If you guys are enjoying the stream so far, as we just kind of started, if you're just entering, we're about to do some Spears of Munsil. So should start it off at 1,000 nits. Why not? Let's give 1,000 nits a shot. Let me make sure all these are set up correctly. All right, filmmaker mode. Filmmaker mode. Oh, I forgot to take the logo thing off. Filmmaker mode. And filmmaker mode. Filmmaker mode. Filmmaker mode. All right. Ties in over WebOS. It's faster this year. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause it over here real quick on the snow horses and see if we can notice anything with like tinting or anything. From this angle, I'm a little off angle. I'm trying to see if I would see any tinting. Nothing really sticks out to me. Maybe something slight, like bluish on the C4, but I don't really see nothing. It's not nothing egregious here. Oh, let me take that screen off. All right. So it's interesting on the S90D at 1,000 nits, it's fine. Contrast wise at 50, right? Like it has no problem for me. But once we do 4,000, you'll see I have to reduce the contrast. So these are the horses in the snow. Of course, the Samsungs are going to look a little bit magenta on camera. That's just what they do. This is what they do, remember? Right, let's fire it up. Let's load the rest. Remember, this is filmmaker mode, 1,000 nits, Spears and Munsil. No tone mapping on any of the TVs right now. No, sorry, no dynamic tone mapping on any of the TVs. Tone mapping is basically always on every TV. Yeah. That's what I noticed too, Classy. I can't display. I'm going to read your things instead of just display them. But yeah, in non-game content, the 4,000 is definitely needing to be at contrast 45 for the S90D. S95D doesn't have that problem. Efron, they're all OLED TVs. The Samsungs are QD-OLED TVs, so the S95D and S90D are quantum dot OLED. The G4 and C4 are WOLED, and the G4 has MLA enhancement. It still says DT off game mode. That's a fail by me. You guys need to call that out. I was looking at chat. I didn't even look at the screen. This is my bad. So This is now filmmaker mode. I like this scene right here. It's a good scene to show. Caleb Pratt with the super chat. Thank you. He says, thanks for all you do. I appreciate the work. Thank you, Caleb. I appreciate that super chat. It means a lot. Thank you for the support. Yeah, these are all out of the box, non-calibrated filmmaker mode. What's up with that? Let me change the exposure. Let me see if I can get it to focus a little bit better. One second. Oh, we should plug in. I hope that's better. I think I was just overexposed a little bit. These are all 55-inch TVs. So that's the sizes here. Is it possible to stream HDR? It's really hard to stream HDR. Very hard to stream HDR. And then for the people that aren't watching in HDR, it's gonna look really weird in SDR. So it's definitely difficult to do. I wish I could if there was like a really easy way to do it. But unfortunately, yeah, it's tough to do. Even uploading in HDR creates some troubles. I've talked to a couple people that did it. I know Classy does it. He seems to have the least amount of troubles with it. Some I'll probably move on to eventually. But live streams, it's going to be tough to do in HDR. Here's everybody's favorite scene. That alligator. Or there's a crocodile? I still don't even know. But, I mean, just the G4 here. Like, what do you... The G4. It takes the scene and I love that. I just love the scene on the G4. I don't know why. This one's pretty good on the G4 as well. Let's go to let's let it run through first, and then we'll switch it to 4000. A lot of people are asking me about the C4, if they should purchase the C4 over the G3. I get this question a lot. No, please do not purchase the C4 over the G3. The G3 is far and away a better TV than the C4, so yeah, do not go that route. Definitely look at the S90C as well for the price. It is a really amazing deal. Very close to being on par with like the S90D. I would even say it's like probably just as good as the S90D, and it's almost as good as the S95D, though the S95D is definitely more capable and it shows in a lot of scenes. Um, so let's go to 4000 here. And then I'll show you the problem with the S90D, and I'll fix that and continue the demo. But I wanted to show you it kind of out of the box with no tweaks, just to be as fair as possible. Yeah, you missed the horses in the snow, but they're about to pop back up. Yeah, like you can't see details on the S90D, unfortunately, with the like 4000. So here's what I'm saying, like you can't see on the S90D, so it's aggressive. We gotta go ahead and take it back. So contrast, have to take that down. Even like 45 is still just a little bit too much, but we'll just keep it at 45 because at least you could somewhat see. But yeah, that's just one of the things. S90D is bright, but G4 shows really good detail in that scene on 4000. And here's kind of like where the G4 will really separate from Samsung. In my opinion, it's kind of closer when you're just showing like 1000, but like when you show 4000, it starts to be really a different tale, I'd say. Oh yeah, and we're gonna look at the different tone mapping behaviors as well, because it's pretty interesting when you use professional mode. So once I show you an example, it's a pretty good example of like maybe we can get it to look a little bit different here. So my professional mode settings are going to be all over the place. Do not pay attention to them. I was just experimenting. But where are they at? It's pretty bad. Classy. It's not great, but this is 4000 content. So if you see like using professional mode, you see how a lot of the like the details with color and stuff comes back, and I like it. Um, so it's like, but you know, you will definitely clip at 100 at times, although like I said, I'm getting a lot more color back and stuff. So it actually does kind of add even more depth to the picture, to be honest with you. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it on that. Play around with it. And we'll just keep it off on the C4 for comparison sake. But yeah, anytime you feel like you're losing color, for example, I'm gonna probably have to adjust the camera here. One sec. Yeah, you can see kind of see that. Let me kill the exposure down a little bit. All right, so I lowered the exposure all the way here. So you can kind of see it has an effect. It like brings a little bit of your colors back into the mix. I personally really do like using professional mode setting. I've seen some downsides if you have it set too high, but I think the downsides are actually outweighed by like the upsides. So highly recommend using the professional mode. And then we got a super chat. Thank you. I really do appreciate this. Christian says, "What's the difference between Best Buy open box good and open box excellent?" Open box excellent is most likely a buyer's remorse return, or just like didn't like the product that much. Open box good, usually there's some sort of cosmetic issue with it, whether that be like the box is damaged or there's just something wrong with the actual TV's like uniformity maybe, or there's like a scuff on the remote. It could be really anything. Also, I've seen open box good be marked as a display model one time. Usually they do fair for those. But it is like you do have to use caution with the good and ask questions. Um, open box excellent is usually just like buyer's remorse return though. But again, maybe they're just being really cautious and they mark it as good. Definitely fair. Stay away from fair. If you see fair, stay away from that. Thank you, Christian, for the super chat. I hope that helps. My favorite, well, like one of my favorite scenes um, to show. I really do like it. I really do like this flower a lot. People like the frog. Oh, I think I skipped the frog last time. That's my bad. Let's mess with the tone mapping here. I'm just curious to see how it does. I see the yellow clipping a little bit. Whoops. See the yellow clipping a little bit. You're not gonna. Yeah, you can see. So with it off, it kind of just doesn't have any like shine in the middle of that flower, but like with it on, looks good. Looks very close to the QD-OLEDs here in this scene. And you could probably even get it to not clip. Maybe let's try like 30. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Let's double check the C4. Make sure that's not in professional mode. It might be. It might be. No, it's not. But you can see you do get a good result with professional mode in the C4 as well, as you can see. This does seem to clip a little bit faster. But yeah, play around with the professional mode settings. I think you'll like the results. Here, we'll go ahead and leave it at the same settings on 20 on this one as well. tone down the green on the C4 if possible, just to see if you can make it more accurate without losing brightness. I don't really I don't really dabble with that. So I don't want to mess anything up. You start messing with those settings, you change one thing, not everything's gonna look the same. Yeah, it's not too green. Um, so remember, this is 4,000 nits. Spears of Munsil. We'll get to the frog in just a second. And then before we move to YouTube demos, I do want to flip through. Maybe if I could pause it on a couple scenes in Aquaman, as I do own that video. I own that movie on my Xbox in HDR. So I wonder if I can pause it on a couple scenes and show you. So what do you guys think of the comparison so far? I feel like the S95D at times has it like is holding its own, but then there's scenes where the G4 does separate. I like that one, for example, this one. And again, like I've mentioned it before and I'll mention it again, you know, the G4 is doing a little bit extra. Doing a little bit extra with that the tone mapping thing that they do. Makes it stand out. So Classy was saying it's per pixel tone mapping. It's a very interesting look for sure. Got the frog right here. Let's go ahead and pause it on the frog. The frog is paused. All right. That's what everybody wanted to see, right? Man, that green right there on the S95D actually does look really good. Like, it's so shiny, it looks like I could touch it. Like, so much for the S95D losing its shine because of its coating. Like, that's definitely not true. Like, whoever said that, I don't know who said it, but that's not true. I'm looking at it right now. There's no loss of shine to the S95D. Is there any blooming? Do you guys see any blooming? I don't see blooming. I don't know, like, this is the number one question I get about the S95D is does it lose its shine? Does it lose its clarity? Is it blooming? No, no, and no. As far as sharpness and clarity goes, it looks just like the S90D. And maybe if you're up close, it'll look a little bit different. But for the most part, from a regular viewing distance, I don't think anybody will ever have a problem with that. ever. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. It's not doing anything wrong, Classy says, as far as the per pixel tone mapping. It's not confirmed, but it appears that way. Yeah. I'd love to know exactly what it's doing. I'd love to know. 10,000 nits is broken, right? Like, that's just gonna break like all these TVs, right? There's not gonna be any details. No sense in even testing it. I'm just curious. Why not? Let's give it a shot. Who does 10,000 nits better? We could put on dynamic tone mapping for a test. Sure. Look at the C4. The C4 is like, nope. Let me see. Let me see if I can fix this. C4 is just, it tried. I wonder if that's the professional mode. Let's see if I switch it out of professional mode, will it act a little bit different? Oh yeah, it does better. So yeah, professional mode clips a little bit earlier. That's a lot better. Still not ideal. S95D does a really good job with it. This could also be related to the professional mode. So I mentioned the downsides of like using the professional mode, right? No matter like where you set, it would be 10,000, right? So yeah. It's not even really having an effect. Interesting. Oh, that's not 10,000. This is the 10,000. Okay. Forget what I just said. Interesting. It like when you go to 100, it seems to roll off more, and then like at 80 it clips more. So okay, like that's probably why. Cuz I'm using 10,000 nits obviously, right? But yeah, you can see when you use the professional, you can actually say, "Oh, I can't see my details," and then you can let yourself see the details. If you're watching anything rated at 10,000 nits, I don't know. Just not really something you'll probably do, but let's see if this is the same behavior on that. So yeah, this is not a set it and forget it setting. That's for sure. But it's nice to have this like flexibility. Like for some, you don't like the way that the TV is tone mapping, you just put it in professional mode and boom, your details are back. So like we'll keep it at 20. I think 20 looks really nice. Oh man, if I have the exposure too low, don't I? There, that's a little bit better, right? Magic remote. Yeah, you definitely need like double cameras. The Samsung's and the C4s, like they're so different. I'm probably gonna start shooting all of my side by side comparisons, like just making the white balance to the TVs because it is creating way too much questions. The comparisons they're good talking points, right? Like we can't use them as like data points. That's for sure. So people shouldn't look at comparisons and be like, "Oh, that's what the TV is going to look like." It's not. The best thing, people can do is just listen to what we're saying. Classy, and I think you do a really good job of explaining what's going on. So I try my best to be descriptive as possible whenever I can, but I'm not the greatest at that. However, I do as much as I can as far as what I know and things. And then if I don't know something, I'll consult with somebody like you, for example, on what's going on. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think we need, like, ideally, it would be nice to have a camera on each TV. But that's just not realistic. That's all like we can really just show and talk about what we're seeing. Yeah, I feel you on the white balance thing. Yeah, it's the only one. I think there's a couple of movies actually like graded at 10,000 nits, but I can't remember which ones they are, and I don't know if they're actually using anything that exceeds that. I'm pretty sure they just will clip anything that reaches that point, of course, because like how are you gonna grade that? But all right, so let me put up this, and we're gonna look through a couple of see if we can pull up some scenes on Aquaman really fast. Hopefully, I don't get in trouble for showing stills, but you never really know with movie companies. Like people ask me, like, why don't you show movies? I'm telling you, man, the copyright monsters are out there. They don't care if you're showing it just to show off like a TV. Like they think you're trying to steal their content, which obviously we're not. But let me find a couple of good scenes. I mean, Aquaman is definitely a bright movie. Um, one of the reasons why I picked it up is because it was just like, man, this is a really good way to compare TVs. But when I did use Aquaman in a video one time, I got flagged. So I'm definitely more cautious about it than I was before. You know. So let me find a good scene. Problem with this player is I cannot see. It's a long movie. Got Amber Heard. Oh gosh, forgot she was in this movie. This is like an outdoor scene, I think. We can show off. All right. I just paused it on a random scene. So we got kind of a more outdoor scene. Actually, here, let me get a little bit more there. It's hard to find like scenes in an action movie that keeps switching scenes, constantly switching scenes. Um, so I paused it on this real quick. Kind of see this is a filmmaker mode as well. G4 is definitely sticking out. Man, we gotta get a still that is not in movement. Stupid blurriness. The desert scene is actually pretty bright, yeah. I used that in the thumbnail. Let me find that. Why is video game not copyright? Because people stream video games for promotion and they just don't want to bother copywriting a game. Like movies, they're more subjective to like privacy, piracy, not privacy, uh, piracy. So like when that all started, they got really cautious about people uploading videos. So they have that like built in, and even when you're not trying to um like rip them off, they think that you are because there's so many people that are trying to rip them off. And so that's the biggest issue is it gets automatically picked up. It's not like they're going out of their way to do it. Um, they just have systems in place that are bots to pick this stuff up to scan whenever you're using the content. They're not going out of their way. They're not going out of their way to show it. So not typically something I like doing because of the reasons going through different scenes. We'll go through some YouTube demos as well. Here's the outdoor scenes. This one is significantly brighter on the G4. Like, look at the difference here. This is filmmaker mode, by the way. I think that's such a big difference. In person, it's something that does stick out. Like this is one of the reasons why I kind of like go back to saying like the G4 kind of gives me this feeling of depth. Like there's just more depth to the image. It's a combination of the tone mapping. It's a combination of the brightness, just the way it shows high average picture level scenes. Does a really good job. You can't show trailers either. So what do you guys think of this scene? Like in particular, like this one does stand out to me. I would say the S90D and the C4 are very similar, but honestly, the C4 is actually a little bit brighter than the S90D in this scene. And it does tend to look a little bit more green in this scene actually too, now that, you mentioned it. But the G4 is just like on a whole nother level from the C4. The G4 is just, yeah, it's a pretty good TV in that regard. Let's go ahead and put them in dynamic tone mapping for this scene. Why not? I know it's gonna probably like freeze on me, but let's try cinema first. Not freeze. It's probably gonna dim on me eventually, but let's go ahead and throw this into that. We'll go throw these in the movie mode really fast. The active tone mapping for brighter scenes looks pretty good on the S95D. It doesn't really do anything for the S90D though. Like, so now we have them all in their cinema mode. So I don't even think the G4 like sharpens anything. I think it's just brightness like the way it's placing its brightness, it's the way it's tone mapping. It is actually just seeming to create a image that has more depth. I don't think it has anything to do with the actual pixel sharpness. Um Talking to Classy, and he seems to agree with this. And like, when I get up close and I compare like the actual sharpness between like the C4 and the G4, it's fairly similar, honestly. There's not really any difference. So it goes beyond that. Let's try Cinema Home for fun. That unfortunately there isn't. See, it really didn't do much more. It's just messing with the actual like midtones here. That's it. Um, yeah, Cinema is like a nice happy medium. But if you wanted to add just a little bit more color, Cinema Home's a good way to do it. Dare I put it in the vivid mode and destroy this video? Yeah, no, I don't, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But I'll just keep it up like that. Why not? There's your dynamic and vivid. That's all you're getting. Ugh. Let's go back to movie. Let's find another scene in this movie. Let's go back to cinema. One sec. There's more you'll discuss about the sharpness if you stream tomorrow. So is it doing some sort of over sharpening? Like, is that what you're saying? Or is it just like the perceived sharpness that everybody thinks is going on? Or is it just not doing any sharpening? It just looks really good by default because it's not really adding any smoothing. We're gonna go and do some YouTube demos real quick and then wrap it up. Might do a part 2 of this before. Whoa, hold up, that was a cool scene. Hold on, bring that back. Bring that back. Movie mode on the S95D, making this one really stick out. Like, look at that S95D on this one. So this is movie mode on all of them. Cinema on the LG. Not really textable. Nah, don't worry about it, man. Let's see. Put this in the cinema home. See if I can match it. Nah, yeah. That's it's interesting. I don't know which one I like better. I actually feel like I like cinema better on that scene. Yeah, I get a real big sense of brightness here on her face. Let's see. There's another one in this coming up. This is a movie that if you guys haven't seen it on your HDR TV, give it a shot. Yeah, definitely give it a shot. I see like the Samsung is clipping a little bit. And again, remember that's movie mode, so. Nah, that's not what I wanted to show you though. It's like when they were in the pods. Here we go. Is this it? Yeah, the way that the light looks right here on the G4, it's pretty cool. Curious to see what it would look like in filmmaker mode. It's actually pretty close to what it looked like in cinema. So not too far off. Yeah, this movie is a visual treat for sure. Let me see if there's some more scenes in this. Let's throw the G4 back in the cinema. Is the S95D back on Vivid? What happened? Nope, it's a movie. Curious to what this looks like on Filmmaker. Interesting. Yeah, the way that the Samsung dynamically tone maps is weird. Sometimes it seems to just like make it way too bright or just not bright enough. But there are scenes where the S95D does look like the brighter TV, and then like I said, there's a lot of scenes where the G4 looks like the brightest TV, and it really does depend on the scene. It depends on the grade, and depends on a lot of different things. To be honest with you, that's why I don't really pay attention to measurements because I don't really think they matter that much. It really just matters the kind of content you're feeding the TV and how it delivers the content. That's really it. That's really it. All right, one more. We guys wanna let's go to YouTube demos real quick. Close it out. I'll be right back. Should we stay in the dynamic tone mapping on? Nah. Let's go to filmmaker mode. I want to go to that demo I kind of showed on the comparison. Let's go to that. This is the cinema modes. Let's do that. Nope, there's no contrast enhancer on. Why is that there? Okay. I showed this a little sneak peek of this on the comparison. And this one is really interesting because it like depends on which scene on which one is gonna look like it's brighter. I think this is a very interesting demo. When I'm looking at it, it's like C4 looks a little bit I don't want to say dead, but like in comparison to these TVs, it definitely isn't as good. I want to try this demo also in filmmaker mode just to see how bright it actually is. Now, of course, shouldn't look too much different, honestly. I think this is the remote, right? Yeah, so let's go ahead and throw these into filmmaker mode. Let's run it back. So that's still pretty bright. Not much. It's not like it's losing a ton of brightness there. Where's my other remote? Found it. All right, so let's run this one back. In filmmaker mode this time. Now the G4 to me looks the brightest in filmmaker mode. I'm curious to see if it's going to change throughout the whole entire demo like it does when you're in cinema. Filmmaker mode is boring and needs a retuning. No, it's filmmaker mode is fine. It's just showing you what the content is supposed to be. Like there's nothing that needs retuning. It's not anything. It's just the content that you're watching. Maybe you just don't like it in filmmaker mode, and that's perfectly fine. But it's definitely a fine mode. It's not like this dull mode. For example, this is filmmaker mode right now. This is far from dull. It's all about the content that you're feeding it. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that most movies, TV shows, a lot of them are like very conservatively graded, maybe 1,000 nits if you're lucky, but a lot of them are like even 200, 300 nits most scenes. And that would be like the upper end of it. So yeah, I just think that people think the content's being fed to them that's supposed to be much brighter than it is, but it's not. Now, that's where you can have the dynamic tone mapping. You can use that and make anything look as bright as you want. That's why a lot of people love their vivid modes, because they just take content that they think is dark and make it look brighter. Because obviously, like, our eyes love brightness. As humans, that's just like something we're drawn to, right? Like I'm a victim of that myself, where like I am always pointing out the brighter TVs, just because I think that is something that always just catches our eyes. So there's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing wrong with filmmaker mode either. It's just giving you, like Classy's saying right here, it's the best way to do out of the box comparisons as well. It's going to show you the most detail represented in the image, as close to it can out of the box as it was created. And like if you're showing a scene that is really high in brightness, it'll look the brightest in filmmaker mode than any other mode. As the other modes, like vivid mode, for example, it won't even make the scene look brighter. In fact, instead, what will happen is you'll like end up clipping colors and things like that. So you definitely don't want to do that. Let me go to, I got this whole demo playlist, so I'll run through that. This is also filmmaker mode. This is the Vegas demo. I like this one a lot. Yeah. Most scenes are pretty dark. That's like there's a reason why like in the movie theater when we see bright scenes, it's always like out of nowhere impactful because the whole movie is dark. And that's just kind of how it's always been. It's always been intended to be delivered that way. All right. As we show some demos, I can run through chat. If you guys have questions, make sure you leave your questions. Here for about 15 more minutes or so, I would say. I don't really want to go too much longer than that. Like I said, I might do a part 2 of this and kind of show a little bit more, but I'm gonna do individual videos for all of these. Like I gotta do S95D G4 still. I've got to do C4 S90D still. Wait, no, I just did that. Nope, I do got to do that one still. Um, I did the G4 versus C4 today. I don't know if it's makes sense. I don't think it makes sense to do like S95D versus C4. I only did C4 versus G4 because it's the same brand. I'll do S95D versus S90D as well. And again, the purpose of those videos is really mainly to just talk about the differences and explain the differences that you're seeing. Like one thing, I don't know, Classy, maybe you noticed this, but it feels like the greens are either A, really saturated on the LGs, or B, undersaturated on the Samsungs. Like just looking at this demo, now this demo is obviously supposed to be pushing the greens really hard, but it's one thing that I noticed in terms of the color green. It feels like it's really popping off in on the LGs. It's like really popping off the screen, and it's a noticeable difference. And I usually it's almost the other way around. Like Samsung's usually like really saturated in the greens. Like I mean, like just look at this for example. And again, I don't even know like if this demo is supposed to be a natural green or if it's supposed to be like that vivid green. Because again, these demos are all created differently. A lot of these demos are meant to be shown in vivid mode too. So maybe they are a little undersaturated on purpose so that when they are put in vivid mode, I don't know. I'm gonna look closely at this S95D and see if I can see this blooming that everybody um, says is blooming on this TV. Not everybody says that. I'm guessing they heard it somewhere and they just like repeated it. So I'm trying to find it. Is there blooming on the S95D? I don't see it. I really, I can't see it. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing it. I think like maybe if I had some ambient lighting going on or something, maybe then I would notice a little bit more. I don't know. Like just watching it in a fairly dark room, I wouldn't say it's super dark, but it is dark. It's just the TVs are lighting it up. Mm. What's with the green tint on the C4? A lot of people are mentioning that. Why am I not seeing that? Like I'm seeing a little bit of it, but I think it looks worse on camera than it does in person. Because it's not something that I'm looking at the TVs and I'm bothered by. It's probably just a white balance difference. There's probably just some tint in the white balance. I don't see it. By choosing the S90D, do you lose a lot? We just watched this demo. Um, nope. You don't lose a lot, but the S90D is not as capable as the S95D. The thing about the S90D is it feels like, you know, it's in that kind of price bracket where you're like, all right, for this price, the S90C is so close. Like I would just rather get a S90C right now. But there's nothing wrong with the S90D. In most scenes, it looks fine. There's some minor problems with it, but I feel like those problems can get addressed in firmware updates. So if you're like looking to buy the S90D later on down the line when it's on sale, I think it's a fine TV. I think the C4 is a fine TV. Just I'm not a fan of it in game mode. Um, that's just one area where I don't like it because I think there's more capable TVs in game mode. Way more. There's a lot now, actually. Buying TVs at launch is always a tough sell. G4 is a standout though. It's there, but it's the camera. Yeah, I'll probably rewatch this stream later and notice it. Oh my god. I gotta remember not to keep the chat up the whole time. I like to be able to reuse this footage if I can. Yeah. Yeah, I see a lot of what you were saying in your comparison. Uh, John, no, I don't have any calibrated TVs at the moment. I'll be getting one though. For my editing monitor, for editing videos and things like that, and color grading, I will have a calibrated LG C4, 42-inch, I believe. That's the plan. And the plan right now is for Classy to calibrate it. So yeah, that'll be kind of not the first calibrated TV that I own, but the first since I've been doing YouTube. I've had a calibrated TV before. Was it a good calibration? I don't know. Best Buy did it, probably not. So, um, but yeah, I'm gonna be getting calibrated C4 done by Classy, and that'll be kind of my go-to editing monitor. The reason why I don't really have calibrated TVs is because I don't feel like I need them. I feel like filmmaker mode gives me close enough. And since I rotate my TV so much, it'd be such a hassle to get everything calibrated. Now, if I was buying a TV for like the next 5 years or so, um, yeah, I would certainly think about it. Man, I really like the way the C4 looked on that. Tone mapping makes such a big difference, you know? I don't think people really realize that. But just being able to dabble in the professional mode controls, you kind of see that, like how much tone mapping is actually affecting the picture. And it's like that's why brightness measurements and things like that, I just kind of like do not care about them anymore. And Classy kind of converted me into this line of thinking, and he's right, man. Like it's all about the tone mapping on these TVs. He's been on this for a good 4 years almost, like going on talking about like how much tone mapping matters and showing the different behaviors of tone mapping. Like shout out to him. Those old live streams we used to do where we would go through and he would like be on the same scene and just compare like the inner workings, like the in-depth fire on certain scenes, and how tone mapping is affecting it and things like I just what he did showing me all that stuff. I think that just opened my eyes to like realizing like brightness measurements are nothing. Like they are nothing. They do not matter. They really do not matter. And Classy, I hope he does a video talking about it one day and really just getting in depth about it, because once you learn about it, then your eyes will be open to it. You'll be like, brightness measurements, they don't really tell the whole story. They're nice. I mean, they're cool little figures to show people. But I mean, yeah, I don't think they really do much. And if you want evidence of this, like just look at the G3, and then look at the G4 measurements. I can promise you, the G3 was not near the G4 in terms of like the way it looks. Because I had the G3 next to the S90C and the S95C, and it never separated like the G4 separates. So like there's more to it. Yeah, like Classy saying, it matters more than the panel type, the brightness measurements, color, etc. It affects all of that. And You know, each manufacturer does it differently. $1,000%. Yes. Like if you want to see some really unique ways of tone mapping, take a look at like the way that TCL and Hisense does their tone mapping. It's pretty out there. There's some pretty weird stuff going on with their tone mapping, especially if you look into the way that the dynamic tone mapping works on TCL and Hisense TVs, specifically like the Hisense U7N I just got. And it does some things with dynamic tone mapping on. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff, even when you go beyond the regular tone mapping methods. But I mean, yeah, tone mapping creates so much like difference. Like that scene right there. Look at the G4 right now. I gotta go back to that. It was pretty nice. And I'm gonna go ahead and mess with the settings to see if I can get it to change. So this is a really nice, colorful scene. So let's take it off professional. You can see, kind of like lose that color a little bit. Right now I have it at 40. I can't really tell what it's doing to the purple because the stupid menu's covering it up. I kind of liked it at 40 though. It doesn't seem to clip or even get to the point where it looks like it's gonna clip. Like I feel like I get most of my detail on 40. I had it at 100 and I noticed that I was losing some details. Let's try it. I think by default, what is that? It's at 80 by default, right? Or no? No, I believe it's like 60, 80. I don't know. No, I think it is. I think it's 60 by default. I think it's 80, 60, and then this was like at 40. I can't remember how it shipped anymore. Uh, let's try it on default. I think it might have been 80. Let's try it at 60. But I mean, just look at the stadium in this scene. Like, you see how the way the stadium sticks out? And that's something where I'm talking about, like, the G4 gives me that sense of depth. And I'll be honest, on camera, it actually looks like it sticks out a little bit more than it does in person because the S95D is very close to the G4 in the scene. It's very close. The C4 just looks sleepy in this scene. It looks very sleepy. Oh yeah, and cameras change the way that TVs look for sure. No matter how much you say it, no matter how many times you put it like in the text in the beginning of your videos, people are really just not gonna grasp it. And you know, I guess it's understandable because you would think maybe a camera would pick up the way that TVs is, but nope, there's so much that goes into it. There's the coating that's on it, whether or not that adds a tint. There's the panel type. There's so much that goes into it. There's the white balance, and you know, if we're showing two different TVs with two different white balances, good luck. They're gonna look completely different than what I'm seeing, which is why like talking about it is the best way to do it. I believe it's on professional. I think I have it set the same exact way. Now let's go back to that scene actually, because where was it? It's this one right here. It was at the end. I really like these old Samsung demos. I've never seen a sky look like that, but I want to. Um, so, okay, that's that. I believe we put it on. I think it's like at the same setting because I think I matched them. But yeah, I am kind of getting into dangerous territory by keep changing it. It was on 20. So if I set it to 60 like it is now, see what it does. Yeah, you can see it doesn't hold the color as much. Curious to see what it looks like when I turn it off. Dynamic tone mapping kind of tries to bring some color in, but even dynamic tone mapping, people are like, oh, dynamic tone mapping makes the TV look so much brighter. Not if the TV is already bright. Like, look at you're actually losing luminance when you're turning on dynamic tone mapping here. But you can see when I don't use professional mode, everybody like when you're not using the professional mode, you can see like how I don't have as much color, and then professional mode does try to bring it back a little bit. So even at like 100, it's a little bit better. But I think I have it at 60, so let's match it. Let's keep it matched. And so if people are wondering like why am I only changing the 4000 setting? Everything on YouTube, as I found out, is 4000 metadata, right? Because there's not individual metadata for YouTube videos. So it's all going to use that 4000 curve. So just keep it at 60. And shout out to Classy for that information. Yeah, dynamic tone mapping will make brighter content look darker and darker content look brighter. So, what's funny is like people might be watching with dynamic tone mapping on all the time and just like not getting the same impact that they would have gotten if they weren't using it on the brighter movies. Like I'd imagine like what's a show that's really bright that I watch? Outer Banks. Shout out to Outer Banks. I really want that show to come back. Um that show can be very bright, I think. From what I've seen, like that's a bright show. So when I was testing it last year using dynamic tone mapping on, it was making that content look darker. So I just love that image. That should be my wallpaper. Should make new wallpaper. Love from Toronto G. Thank you. Appreciate the love. All right, where were let's check out some. What is this? I don't think I've seen this demo. Yeah, DTM on Outer Banks is awful. I remember testing it. Just like what else did I test? Was it Dolby Vision Cinema Home or whatever it was? The brighter one? I can't remember, but I think that wasn't that good. That was a while back now. I don't even really remember. That might have just been Vivid Mode that I tested. But yeah, a lot of people use mostly Vivid Mode, and they might get better results if they're watching brighter stuff with a different mode, and they don't realize it. Yeah, you can see you can see shadow detail differences, you can see subluminance differences. You can see saturation differences somewhat, like color saturation differences, but like not actual like color tones. Like for example, I could be showing you something that appears to be orange in my eyes, but it might look a little bit more red on camera. Cameras just do not pick up colors the same exact way as my eyes do or as your eyes do. Um, my cinema camera though, like the one that I got that I'm not using, my Blackmagic cinema camera does a really good job of picking up colors, and the color science on that camera is really awesome. Unfortunately, there's no barrel correction, so like using a wide angle lens for a live stream is just gonna make it look really distorted. So I can't be using that camera for comparisons. But I do really like that camera. It's been the closest that I've seen to replicating what I'm seeing. But yeah, the Sony cameras are good too. It's just you're not gonna 100% be able to nail it, no matter what camera you use, based on the white balance differences on each TV, the different panel types. Again, there's so much that goes into it. Yeah. There's times where the C4 will look almost as bright as the G4, depending on the content you're feeding it. That's why I said a majority, like I mentioned in my review, the majority of stuff that like you're watching will probably look very similar if you're watching it, you know, in filmmaker mode, for example, or anything like that. If you have them both even in cinema mode, then you're starting to blur the lines a little bit because you're introducing the dynamic tone mapping on. That's where the G4 will separate with the darker content. I'm gonna go to the LG demos to close it out. So real quick, let me find those. Actually, let's throw on some Sony demos real quick. Pinball? No, let's go this one. I like this demo a lot. This demo is kind of a stress test for LCD TVs. Actually, a lot of the Sony demos are stress tests for LCD TVs. But yeah, this one is definitely stress test. I honestly, as good as the C4 is, and don't get me wrong, it's pretty good. I just can't justify it. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where I can justify it because it's always going to be around the same price as TVs that are either A, more capable, or B, just like better, you know? Um, and the C4 just finds itself in that category that no matter what, you always got the G3 there. Like if you really want an LG OLED, just get the G3 over the C4 because the G3 is just better than the C4. So it's really just like 42-inch and 48-inch. That's the C4's sweet spot. And it's a hard recommendation. Like that's the biggest part for the C4s. It's a really hard recommendation. I do love this demo, high def. I think this demo is like one of the coolest things that LG ever made. Or well, they didn't make it, but they licensed it. And I think it's one of the coolest demos that they've done. But nothing will stress test the Bravia 9. Oh yeah, we'll see about that. I like the Bravia 9, but we definitely need to put it through its tests. People think that you're not gonna see blooming. That's not. Do not have those expectations, please. I saw the Bravia 9 technology. There is still going to be blooming. Like that's always going to be a thing with any mini LED TV. It's always going to have some sort of aspect where you'll see some blooming. It's just that's inherent to the technology. You cannot get rid of that. That is just a downside. So you'll always have that. It's going to be really interesting how it does in some of the more higher APL scenes where you can really see maybe it can separate. We'll see. We'll see. That's the biggest thing that I'm waiting to see because I didn't get a lot of demos with those kind of scenes. I really didn't. But if they fix the core issue that LCDs have where it's like dimming down in those types of scenes to avoid blooming, like I think that's the biggest issue with the LCD TVs is there's always some extra tricks, extra work that the LCD TV has to do. So it kind of like hurts itself with brightness in that regard. Yeah, so there and off angle blooming, like if you're watching TV off angle, like all the mini LEDs are gonna have that. All of them. This is a good question, Wayne. Is a very fair question. You mentioned multiple times in the past that QD-OLED is better in next level panel technology, but at this point, would you declare G4 the best so far this year? So there's a couple of layers to this question, and I think that ultimately QD-OLED still is the better technology, and I think it is like the next level panel technology. But it's really more about what the TV's doing internally, like with tone mapping and the magic things that the G4 is pulling off. That kind of sets it apart for me. And it really does a good job of what it has. And I don't think that MLA is bad by any means. And it's really enhancing WOLED. It makes it look better. Unfortunately, I think there's just not enough content to take advantage of what you can get out of a QD-OLED. So it's more capable, but the content that we're throwing at it, it's not gonna really do justice. Like there's not too much that's gonna separate it. And it's really all about how the TV is doing its tone mapping more so than anything else. And that's kind of, what I've been learning over the last couple of years. And panel technology matters, and it does. And you can see differences, and I showed some differences today where like, yeah, the S95D is got the advantage there. But those scenes are hard to find, man. Those scenes are definitely harder to find. I mean, yellow is a really good example of, I think looks better on quantum dot OLED, for example. Like to me, in my eyes, the S95D sticks out as the better looking, more natural yellow. But again, it's not always just the panel technology that's affecting colors. It's also going to be the way that the TV's tone mapping, as we've seen just playing around with the professional setting with the different roll off values. And that, again, the G4 is just kind of standing on its own right now as the best. in this comparison here. But the S95D is not too far behind. I was really hoping to get an A95L, but it's going to be a little difficult. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to pull that off. But we'll see. I know Classy got the A95L. Right? Classy, you got the A95L. So, looking forward to that comparison. Yeah, so here's one of the scenes where it's like, yeah, the Samsungs just do this scene a little weird. Like, I don't know. Just a little different. Just a little different. I like, wait, is it this one? No, this is not HDR. All right, let's close it out then with the LG demos, and then I'll wrap. I did it again, where I said I was going to end in 15 minutes, but I went 30 minutes longer. It happens. But for sure, after the LG demos are done, then we're wrapping. I'll see if I missed any questions. So if you have questions, leave them in the chat. You can also leave a super chat if you do want to support the channel. That's always greatly appreciated, but never required. And if you guys have any like TV comparison questions, like which TV should I get? If you're kind of debating right now, I can help you with that. Give you the pros and cons of what's going on. I forgot to take the question down. It's my bad. All right. All right, last round of demos, and then we're gonna wrap. If there's something I missed, please tell me as we are about to end. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Really do appreciate it. Wow, place the A95L around 4th place now. 4th place, what's the other TVs above it? Because that's an interesting statement. Yeah, I would say a good upgrade from the X95J if you're just kind of like wanting to move off of it for whatever reason. The next step up would be OLED. I typically wouldn't say like jump from an LCD to an LCD, especially if you've never had an OLED. And these OLEDs are bright enough. Definitely bright enough. No way the S95D beats the A95L unless you mean after calibration. Yeah, I'm curious to see. Like that's the thing, man. When I can't put the A95L up against the S95D and the G4, man, I gotta try to make it happen somehow. But I'm limited in space, and it's just a tough ask, unfortunately. Hey, thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it. I got 93 people, 96 people watching now. It seems like people are coming in now that I'm about to wrap up soon. But we'll let this demo run through. I'm not a big fan of this one on camera. It doesn't look that great. So let's go to Hawaii. Or not. Let's actually just crash. Let's actually just crash. Yeah, that happened. All right, so any last second questions? Because my Apple TV was like, yeah, you know what? Nah, bro. We're gonna end right now. So we'll take questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and put questions up on the screen. Question time. Almost not vivid questions. Boom. All right, let's put that on the screen. Let's go background effect. All right, so let me look through chat and see if there's any questions. There we go. I see the green now. Now that it's on this screen, I see the green you're talking about. Nah, it's the camera more so than anything. It's definitely the camera, the white balance. I have the camera white balanced for the G4, so it must be a slight difference with the C4 that's making it look green. Yeah, A95L is still the best for low bit rate streaming, no doubt about that. The A80L is still looking the best in that department for me with the TVs that I own. Next week, what we'll do, depending on if I get the Bravia 7 or not, I don't know exactly when I'm gonna get the Bravia 7. I think I kind of want to wait until the QN90D shows up before I get the Bravia 7 because the Bravia 7 is so close to the QN90D. But I think next week, if I do a live stream, I'm gonna probably do A80L versus C4 because that's pretty interesting, you know. So I'll probably do that, and maybe the S95B. I don't know. A lot of people want to see the S95B because that's like a darling TV, by the way. Like, if you guys didn't know, the S95B, people love the S95B still. Specifically, low bitrate SDR. A95L has a low luminance pink green posterization in HDR10 and Dolby Vision. I don't think the A80L has that, but I have to look. I haven't really looked into that part. Be curious to see if the A80L has that characteristic. That sucks that has that's still the case on the A95 though. I hope they fix it. Have you I'm pretty sure Sony probably knows about it, but have we heard anything about that from Sony? Like, they know about it? I'm sure they know about it. Sony is a little slower with the updates if you guys haven't noticed. But when they do updates, they're pretty good usually. I know that issue that the X95K had. Wait, K? Yeah. X95K had this like blob issue. I remember Max telling me about it and it got fixed and then it made the TV better overall. After that too, like with the dimming algorithm. HDR low bit rate streaming is not really a thing. I mean, it kind of is. It's rarer. Like, if you've noticed when you load up an HDR movie, like, it typically does try to push it in a higher bit rate. Like, it's really just the non HDR movies that are reserved. So like 1080p SDR, for example, that can be low bit rate. So and people ask about that issue all the time. I'm sure it happens, but I don't run into low bitrate HDR that much. No, the A80L doesn't have that issue. Interesting. almost all streaming is low bitrate. What do you consider low bitrate for HDR? Because like most of the movies I'm loading up, if you look at like the stats for nerds and stuff like that, or there's ways to pull up the stats. You can kind of see what bitrate it's pushing. Now I don't know how accurate that is, but Netflix usually pushes about 20 megabits per second from last time I looked. That doesn't seem low bitrate. Maybe it is. I don't know. No, Apple TV doesn't seem to be low bitrate. Like the actual Apple TV service. I think Prime might be low bitrate, but I don't know. I don't really run into issues like streaming Fallout, for example. Like I don't notice any issues with Fallout when I was watching that on Amazon Prime. I don't have the premium plan, by the way, for the Dolby Vision. So I don't think it's really that worth it. I never noticed the lights blinking in the background for the screensaver here. It's kind of distracting. Low bitrate in motion, you lose quality. Like panning shots. Yeah, Apple TV, I think, is somewhere around 30. Last I looked, it was like 20 to 30 or something. I've never had a problem with Apple TV Plus. I think Disney Plus might be low. I'm not sure. They keep changing though. For example, YouTube TV, that's been getting better with its bit rate. So that's good. That's good. Do you notice a big difference comparison QD-OLED to WOLED? There's some characteristics differences, but like it's hard to narrow it down to if it's like a panel type difference or if it's just the way that the LG does their color compared to how Samsung does their color. Let's see what else. I think I'm caught up on questions. You guys have been awesome. I appreciate the conversation as always. If you guys have any questions at all, leave them in the comments. I really do appreciate all the love you guys have been sending me all night long. And yeah, stay tuned because next week I'll be back. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.